power trip, like her clipboard redefined reality. I phoned the city's zoning department, but they gave me a slow, "We'll get back to you in 2 weeks." 2 weeks? My career could blow up in 2 days. I drove on the street, ran to the interview, tie loose, out of breath, and saved a call back in spite of my chaos. But as I shook hands with the panel, Eleanor's smug face seared in my mind. Her fence, a splinter I couldn't ignore. I walked my property that night with a flashlight, following each boundary marker I'd established years before. My land had existed before the HOA sprawl, a subdivision constructed on a developer's wager, selling community harmony with newsletters, landscaping decrees, and Eleanor's iron fist. My three deeds, house, eastern strip, and old farmland, were my shield. Most didn't know, but the HOA's control was shaky, built on leased parcels from a defunct holding company. I'd bought several at auction years ago, dirt cheap, planning future projects. One parcel, a jagged triangle slicing through the neighborhood, held a secret. It bisected under Eleanor's residence, her dining room, her beloved koi pond, her garden patio. She had constructed her empire on my property, and her fence cutting off my easement was the match to set fire to my response. I did not engage her. I allowed her to wave tauntingly behind her fence, adding another summons to my grass for unapproved gravel texture. I smiled, retrieving the notice, my strategy coming together. She believed she'd trapped me. She wasn't aware that she trespassed on land I'd made a battlefield of. I unearthed my archives, unspooling the old plat. Parcel 204C verified. Eleanor's residence squatted on my property, its foundation occupying my deed. The HOA's lease on neighboring parcels had lapsed 18 months before. No extension, no purchase. Her fence intruded upon my easement, and her house was a lawful squatter. I phoned my attorney, Alex, a zoning shark who'd once made a city change its flood maps. "She built on your land?" he exclaimed. I told him about the lapsed lease, the easement, her blockade. "She's screwed," he said with glee in his voice. "Document everything. Photos, drone video, timestamps." I took out my measuring wheel, drone, and plats, charting every inch. The drone's video superimposed with zoning lines was incriminating. Eleanor's house, patio, and pond, all mine. I submitted a boundary confirmation to the county. Then I strode into City Hall, flannel and jeans concealing my purpose. The clerk processing my deeds grumbled, "This is going to be a mess." I asked for a zoning inspection of Eleanor's land, alleging structural encroachment. "Standard procedure," I told her. She stamped my forms, arranging a visit. I didn't inform Eleanor. Make her tape another notice on my mailbox. This one for misaligned birdbath aesthetics. I snapped her, putting it up, adding to my legal firepower. The zoning inspector phoned days later, puzzled. "This Eleanor woman blocked me from her property," he said, "threatened to call the sheriff over her koi pond." I gave him my deeds. His eyes widened. "Her house is off boundary." We marked the lines. Orange dots sprinkled across her lawn, defining her house as an intruder. Drone footage caught her gnomes in mid-terror. My lawyer smiled at the file. "Evict her or sue?" he asked. I shook my head. "Neither, not yet." I had a brasher idea. Sell the land underneath her castle. Let the buyer evict her. I advertised parcel 204C openly, with zoning information and aerials highlighting Eleanor's house. 3 potential buyers made bids within 48 hours. A developer targeting condos, a tech company that wants a solar hub, a competitor HOA seeking leverage. They all had fat wallets and no affection for Eleanor's squatting mansion. Eleanor, in her ignorance, upped her crusade. She posted a notice on my door for uneven lawn tufts with the requirement to comply within 48 hours. She organized an emergency HOA meeting, handing out flyers blaming me for annexing community assets and calling me a rogue developer. Some of the neighbors were swayed by her drama, chatting in anxious huddles. One of them asked, "You're not going to bulldoze us, are you?" I reassured him, but Eleanor's fear-mongering created angst. Then, an anonymous email landed in my inbox. Eleanor's house never cleared final inspection. Foundation too big. No variance submitted. Look City Archives. 204C deviation. I sprinted to the records department. The clerk came out with a folder stamped incomplete. Eleanor's contractor had extended her foundation without permission, obtaining only a temporary occupancy permit. Never completed. Her house was technically not habitable, adding to her trespass on my property. I read the documents, faxed them to Alex, and grinned. This was not merely a controversy. This was an executioner. Alex advised, kick her out for zoning infractions or take the land back. She's done. I chose show. I contracted a sign shop to make a huge for sale, land only sign and stuck it dead center on Eleanor's lawn beneath her favorite hydrangea. She saw it while she was pruning. Her shriek shook windows. She ripped the sign out, stormed my porch, and hammered the door, waving the crumpled sign. "This is harassment," she screamed. I emerged unruffled. "I'm selling my property. Your home just so happens to be situated on it, without permits." Her face went white, speechless. She ran, sign crumpled in hand. At the following HOA meeting, convened in the park to accommodate the growing crowd, Eleanor read a manifesto condemning me for land piracy and suburban terrorism. Mid-rant, a neighbor, a retired lawyer, rose from his seat. "Eleanor, did your house pass final inspection?" Silence gorged the air. She stuttered, deflecting. But suspicions spread like wildfire. Rumors circled. Neighbors questioned her rule. She attempted one last stand, having a Save Our Community rally. 15 supporters brandished signs like "Stop Corporate Greed." Most residents disregarded her, mowing lawns, sipping lemonade. The rally fizzled. Eleanor stood alone, shouting at passing cars. Then the hammer fell. A black Mercedes arrived. A woman in a tailored suit stepped out. A rep from Horizon Ventures, my top bidder. Their offer, triple the land's original value, with a twist. Their consultant was a former zoning chief who'd clashed with Eleanor's builder. "We've waited for this," she smirked. I signed, transferring parcel 204C. Horizon wasted no time. They issued Eleanor a certified letter calling for immediate talks regarding her house's unauthorized presence. She ignored it. A second letter, worded this time through legal crier, described land reclamation. Eleanor's swagger disappeared. Her clipboard turned into a shield. Her patrols grew listless. Horizon brought a reclamation suit, requesting her house's removal or purchase at the land's skyrocketed value, well out of her reach. Legal fees drained her. Her husband, long silent on the issue, finally broke at a community open house Horizon hosted on the parcel. Among models of solar hubs and plazas. He snatched a mic from Eleanor in mid-rant. "We didn't examine the deeds. We constructed on land we don't own. That's our fault." He dropped the mic and exited, leaving her speechless. The crowd gawked. Her supporters melted away. Her social media fell silent. Her grass withered. Her newsletter stopped. The court decision arrived quickly. The judge, reading deeds, inspections, and Horizon's lawsuit, told Eleanor to leave in 30 days. Her foundation's encroachment made her house uninhabitable. She couldn't pay the new price for the land. An eviction notice posted on her door, over her worn "Welcome Home" sign, was the final blow. A moving truck pulled up. Workers carried her furniture in silence. Eleanor appeared last, sunglasses covering her red eyes, stance brittle. She pulled away without looking back. Her fence, a forgotten fragment. Horizon's vision flowered. A solar-paneled smart plaza, a garden for the community, an open plaza where fences were taboo. I worked as a zoning consultant, designing space that respected freedom over control. Neighbors who had been cowed apologized for their inaction, confessing Eleanor's charm had blinded them. The HOA crumbled. A new board led by Mr. Delgado prioritized transparency, scrapping fines and absurd rules like the windmill ban. The Chime Freedom Festival rang with defiant bells. A news feature, From Fence to Future, went viral. Memes crowned me Land King. Reddit threads buzzed. Eleanor fenced his driveway. He owned her house. I didn't revel in her ruin, just in the truth triumphing. When Horizon's Plaza opened, a plaque was at its center. Boundaries build progress. Eleanor's koi pond was a wildflower bed, bees dancing through it. One night I saw her, in a worn sedan, gazing at the plaza, eyes empty. She drove off, a ghost of her former glory. At a plaza barbecue, neighbors laughed, children played, and I toasted to a reborn community. The fence was gone, but its lesson remained. Truth and not tantrums redraws the lines. My dog slept under a newly planted shade tree. The plaza glowed warm against the night, and I smiled, not for victory, but for something better. One deed at a time. In a weathered sedan, looking out at the plaza, eyes hollow. She drove away, a ghost of her former reign. At a plaza barbecue, neighbors laughed, children played, and I toasted to a revitalized community. The fence was nothing but a memory, but its message remained. Truth, not tantrums, redefined the boundaries. My dog rested in the shade of a new tree. The plaza radiated warm against the darkness, and I smiled, not for triumph, but for something greater. Weeks went by. The solar panels hummed softly, basking in the sunlight, energizing streetlights now greeting all, not merely the select privileged under ancient regulations. The garden plots bloomed, sunflowers tall as centuries of the times to come. Kids played hide-and-seek amidst young apple tree rows. Grandparents reclined on benches where Eleanor once would have exacted permits for unlawful assemblies. The villagers no longer trembled in dread. They talked, they strategized, they hoped. And I stood, glass in hand, aware that sometimes one rock tips a whole river. Mr. Delgado caught up to me one evening, by the koi pond, or rather what had once been. It was now a field of wildflowers, buzzing with bees, vibrant and unchained. "You rescued us," he said, his voice choking with emotion. "No," I said, smiling. "We saved ourselves. I just reminded everyone we could." The new HOA, if you could even call it that, was a simple committee. No fines, no arbitrary rules. Just neighbors looking out for neighbors. Iron fences were replaced with low hedges and open gates. Where Eleanor had enforced division, we cultivated connection. But peace wasn't built overnight. There were missteps. Arguments about where to put a new community library, disputes about what fruit trees to plant. But nobody threatened citations. Nobody taped up anonymous postings on doors. People discussed, people listened, and gradually something amazing began to occur. The neighborhood healed. The news segment, From Fence to Future, went into national syndication. Reporters swarmed to the plaza, awed by the change. Memes blew up across the internet. When you fence in someone's driveway, but they own your house, real estate judo, how to win without bulldozers. Build bridges, not fences, unless you read the plat map first. Late-night talk shows even made jokes about the fall of Eleanor. She was a cautionary tale being spoken in HOA boardrooms around the nation. But for me, it was not about Eleanor anymore. It was about the buzzing of bees and wildflowers. It was about a neighbor giving a cup of lemonade to another neighbor without suspicion. It was about kids with chalk-stained fingers drawing dragons on sidewalks Eleanor would have ticketed. It was about freedom. Real, imperfect, messy, beautiful freedom. One night, months after, I stood beside the plaza fountain, an element built precisely where Eleanor's patio used to be. The stars wheeled above. The solar lights flickered like caught fireflies. And in the distance, I saw that old weathered sedan again. It idled by the curb for what seemed like an eternity. I couldn't see her clearly, but I felt it, the weight of regret, the crushing realization that control is no replacement for community, that fences, no matter how tall, cannot shield a crumbling empire founded on borrowed soil. She didn't exit the vehicle. She didn't scream. She didn't affix anything to any mailbox. She just sat there, a silhouette caught between the past and a future that no longer required her consent. Then slowly the sedan rolled away, consumed by the darkness. Gone.